How can you significantly increase your income? That's a question on everyone's mind, regardless of what time of the year it is, regardless of what's going on in the economy. Not surprisingly so, because as Brittany and I have found out, the more money you have and can keep, the easier life becomes, the more choices you have, and in many ways, the more freedom you have in your day-to-day living. What's up, guys? I'm Mike.
And I'm Brit.
And if you haven't been following our story, Brittany and I were in a rough spot financially when we first got married. We were $120,000 in debt, the majority of that being student loans. Both of us were starting our careers. So Brittany was just starting her career, and I was in a place in my life where I was kind of self-employed and kind of not. When Brittany and I got married, I made the decision just to go all in on being self-employed and doing a bunch of stuff on my own. Needless to say, our income was not very much. We were earning maybe $45,000 per year at the most when we first got married. Not a bad place to start financially, but when you add in all of the debt payments that we had, student loans, car payments, we had close to $1,500 or $1,600 per month going out in debt payments between student loans and both Brittany's and my cars, which on a $40,000 a year income, that's about half of our monthly income after taxes, which did not give Brittany and I much money to live off of and to pay normal cost of living expenses. So we had a decision to make. We could either continue to live our lives like this and just be dead broke, living paycheck to paycheck, or we could bite the bullet and get to work. And we bit the bullet and got to work.
Yeah, we found ways to increase our income.
Yep, and this video is going to be dedicated to the 6 things or so that Brittany and I did to increase our income from that $40,000 a year mark to about $140,000 a year. So everything that Brittany and I are going to be talking about in this video, anybody can do. They're not just specific to our particular situation or our particular industry or job. Anybody can do these. Pretty simple. So if you work a 9 to 5, or if you're self-employed, which is, I would imagine, pretty much anybody who's watching this, all of this stuff applies to you. So with that being said, Brittany's going to tackle the first couple things.
So the first thing is look for companies that pay you more for the same job. This is good for those who make a certain hourly rate or you work a 9 to 5 type of job. So this was me right out of college. I found a company to work for, and after 3 months, they gave us a raise, and it was about 25 cents per hour. And I found out from other colleagues this was a consistent theme every 3 months. So it came out to be about $1 per hour after the year. But I started to realize this didn't compensate for the gained experience I had after the year or inflation after that year was done. So I started to look for other companies that would hire me for the same job, but would take into account the year I had gained in experience. And I realized I could be getting an additional $5 to $7 per hour working at another company than staying with the company I was already at. And this is why I think the good old days of staying with a company anywhere from 25 to 30 years and retiring, why companies are seeing that that isn't the case anymore, because a lot of people realize you can jump from one company to the other and get a significant pay increase.
Yeah, there are a lot of studies that are coming out now that they're like, the average person who works a 9 to 5 would have like 10 jobs in their career, maybe even more than that. I forget what the actual numbers are. And the average length of one of those jobs is like 2 years. And then they move on for the next one. So with Brittany doing this, that increased our income about $25,000 over the 3-year time span that we were getting out of debt. Pretty crazy. Over a 50% increase in our income just by doing this one thing. So this is huge. If you guys can find another company that will pay you more for the same job that you're doing, you may want to weigh that.
So the second thing was overtime. So this applies again to a lot of people who work 9 to 5 or a 40-hour work week. I tried to get as much overtime as I could, as much as my company would allow me, and this significantly increased our yearly income by about $6,000 per year, which helped out a lot.
Yeah, so if you like overtime, that pays you more. And if you're in a spot where you're paying off your debt like Brittany and I were 8 years ago, or 5 years ago, then overtime is a great way to get some extra income. Because normally they pay you like time and a half for a certain percentage of your regular hourly rates on top of your regularly hourly rate. And speaking of hourly rates, the third thing that we did, and this applies to me since I'm the one who's self-employed, so for the self-employed people out there who are watching, you can always increase your hourly rate. And that's what I did over the 3-year time period that Brittany and I were getting out of debt. So I work in academics, in education. And when Brittany and I first got married, my hourly rate was, I think it was about $40 an hour. By the time Brittany and I were done paying off our debt, I had increased my rate twice to $60 an hour. So a 50% pay increase over the 3 years. On top of this, like I said at the beginning of the video, I was kind of like just starting out in this area when Brittany and I got married, so I didn't have much work. So I had to hustle to get up to that 20 client per week mark, and it's not like I stayed at 20 clients per week the entire time after that. Like, that's just kind of like the nature of self-employed. If you're not self-employed, clients come and go depending on your relationship with your clients. They may need to meet weekly, they may need to meet bi-weekly or whatever. It was not a consistent 20 clients per week, although that would have been nice, but it ranged from like 10 to 20, somewhere in there. So the difference between $40 an hour to $60 an hour, combined with having a few clients a week to having 20 clients per week, raised our income about $36,000 per year. The fourth thing that we did was pick up work on a contract as needed basis. And this is something that Brittany and I both did. So Brittany got work on a contract basis on her end. I got work for me on a contract basis with other companies. So there was one company I worked with that would contract with local schools and things like that. I got work with them. They paid me through a 1099. On my end, this increased our income about $6,000 per year.
So on the 9 to 5 front, if you have a skill set that you could just basically contract or work with another company on an as needed basis, you will be surprised at how much more you can get per hour. I got anywhere from double to triple my hourly rate just by doing this. The reason you're paid so much more for this is because usually these companies are very short staffed and they're desperate for help. So you do see a larger jump in your hourly rate because of this.
So for the extra work that Brittany did on a contract basis, that raised our income $26,000 per year. So between the two of us doing extra contract work, that raised our income $32,000 per year total. The fifth thing that Brittany and I did to increase our income, and this was on my end because Brittany's time had been capped out about this point.
Yeah.
I still had a little bit more time. I just got extra jobs. So I've been a competitive swimmer most of my life. I taught swim lessons. I picked up an extra job doing swim lessons here and there when I could. And I also got a job teaching Sunday school at a local church. And that paid a little bit extra every month. So between those two things, that increased our income $4,000 per year. Not much, but every extra dollar that we could earn meant that we would be out of debt faster. And that was our goal, just to be out of debt as quickly as possible. Okay, so among all these things that we've mentioned so far, with Brittany looking, I've got everything written down on my phone. So with Brittany looking for companies that paid more for the same job, increasing her income $25,000 a year. Her getting overtime, that was an extra $6,000 per year. Increasing my hourly rate, hustling to get more work on my end, an extra $36,000 per year. Both of us getting contract work, an extra $32,000 per year. And me getting a few extra small jobs on the side, an extra $4,000 per year. All of these things combined raised our income $103,000 per year. I need to add a caveat to this. It's not like we went 1 year and earned $140,000 in 1 year. I'm doing this math on a monthly basis, so I was taking our income monthly and projecting that out yearly. By the time we were done paying off all of our debt, we were making about $12,000 per month, which would be $144,000 a year. Of course, you got to take out taxes and everything like that. Which leads me into the sixth thing that Brittany and I did to raise our income to pay off that $120,000 of debt that we had. And we didn't do much of this. It was something that we did a minuscule amount of, and that's work on passive income. I want to preface what I'm about to say with there is nothing wrong with working your butt off, getting 6 jobs if you need to. Getting an extra job or 2 or 3 or 4, in Brittany's in my case, is probably one of the fastest ways to make extra money and pay off your debt that we can think of.
Yeah.
But if you guys hadn't noticed, all of the strategies that Brittany and I used, everything that we did had to do with getting extra jobs. And it was very like singularly focused into getting extra jobs.
After doing all these extra things to increase our income and doing more jobs on the side, and we basically capped out the amount of hours we physically could work. I was working so much, I was physically exhausted and mentally drained that we both realized this is something that is not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not. It's a great way to increase your income temporarily to get things done. And in Brittany's and my case, that's what we needed to do. We were in a mess of a financial situation, and we needed to fix that mess as quickly as possible. So we just got extra jobs.
But it was trading our time for money, and we only had a limited amount of time in the week that we could use to do that.
Not only that, working all the time is exhausting.
Yeah.
Becoming debt-free was well worth all the energy and sacrifice we were making. But this is not a viable long-term strategy,
Right.
which is where passive income comes in. This is the sixth thing that Brittany and I started to work on. We didn't make all that much money in the 3 years that we were paying off our debt with passive income, maybe a couple $100s. But what we learned during that process is that it's kind of like what Warren Buffett said. I'll just quote Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett once said, if you can't find a way to make money while you're sleeping, you will work until you die. Brittany and I don't want to work until we die. We would love to make money while we're sleeping. We would love to be able to have more freedom in our life. And that's actually one of the goals that Brittany and I are working on right now. We're trying to build up a passive income stream to allow us to have a lot more choices, a lot more flexibility in where we live or what we do with our time. Both of us want to work because we want to work. Like, we want to go to work because we want to. We don't want to go to work because we have to. And even though we're debt free, we got all of our debt paid off in 3 years, we still have to go to work because we have bills to pay. Even if we didn't have this house, we still have rent. We used to live in an apartment. We still have rent to pay an apartment. We still have to pay gasoline, insurance, groceries, a bunch of things like that. Earning the money to pay for those things, our basic cost of living passively while we sleep, would really give Brittany and I a lot more freedom with our lives. The thing about passive income, though, is it takes a long time to get started. Brittany and I have earned about $700 this year so far, to date, in passive income, which is crazy when I think about it. Even though it's not that much, like, it's a huge amount for Brittany and I, because this is something that Brittany and I have been working on for probably a year now. And we're just starting to really see the payoff on it. Yeah. And again, $700 is not that much in it's the beginning of May, so really 4 months. We've earned $700 in passive income, but this is money that we haven't had to work for at all. Like, we've put things in place we worked on a while ago, and they're continuing to earn us money now, whether that be YouTube, Amazon, dividends, things like that. We worked really hard to make these things happen a while ago, and the idea is they will continue to earn us money, maybe not indefinitely, but for a long, long time period.
This is a big reason why we shifted our focus from trading our time for money to just working hard once and seeing a gain over years to come.
So if you guys are in a place where you have the time for this, writing a book would be a great source of passive income. You spend a ton of time and energy writing it, and then you get it out there, and it's out there forever if you want it to be. YouTube videos is another great thing to do for passive income if you're dedicated to it, because once you get a video made and you put it out there, it's out there. And this is assuming that your channel is monetized and in good standing and things like that. But one of the reasons that Brittany and I are making these YouTube videos to help you guys out and hopefully allow us to create some other type of income to allow us to move around more freely. And yeah, so those are the 6 ways that Brittany and I increased, or mostly 5 ways that Brittany and I increased our income 8 years ago while we were paying off $120,000 in debt, starting at $40,000 or so, ending up at about $140,000, a little over that. We worked our butts off. We spent a lot of time working, a lot of energy working. It was worth it. But at least the end goal for us is passive income. That's where we want to be with our future. That's our goal going forward. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you are interested in passive income and investing, my Robinhood link is in the description. Grab your free stock with that if you want. Brittany and I also have a budget template that we personally use for all of our budgets every month. If you guys want to grab that, I'll put that link below as well. It's basically just how we outline our budgets every month so we can keep track of where our money's going. It's a very good thing to do if you want to be financially independent. Also, follow us on Instagram if you want to do that. We just created an Instagram account. It's Mike and Brit on Instagram, so follow us there. And with that being said, you guys, thanks again for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Bye.